Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils and snares, we have already come. 'Twas grace that brought us safe thus far, and grace will lead us home. When we've been dead 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see.
We've Galera Cordia August Fáilte wrote, welcome to be my guest with me, Mary Honan, on Lear Media TV, supporting the Samaritans, Limerick and Tipperary. And my lovely guests today are the, world famous Brian Hurley, otherwise known as Red Hurley, and his beautiful daughter, Steph. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am Mary. We're delighted to be with you today.
Well, do you know, I often say Red, and I'm not, I'll say it to your face, but I've said it behind your back. You're probably the greatest singer that has come out of this country.
Yeah, do you hear that? Do you hear that?
No, I mean, seriously, what an absolutely fabulous voice.
Thanks a million, Mary. Thank you.
You know, and it never aged, if you like. It aged beautifully, like I know I'm sounding in danger of plumosing you, but like a good wine, they say it. You know, you was that mainly because you kept up the singing and you've always been singing?
Yes, that's exactly the reason. Gabe Byrne asked me one time, he says, do you rehearse much, Red? And I think he was expecting me to say, no, I don't rehearse at all. But the truth is, especially years ago, we used to do 2 hours a day. So 2 hours a day equals voice staying there, you know.
And what would you do now?
Scales.
Scales.
Or start singing songs that are easy enough and then build them up and eventually end up at the toughest, you know.
You first, I suppose, came to our radar, I suppose, when you sang in the Eurovision. I was very young now, I will admit to that, but I
I'm kind of young myself, Mary.
You were very young, you were only a child, but I mean, the evidence of that song is still there for everyone to see. And when you sang with the Leaky Gospel Choir, and wasn't it the Leaky?
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, you're continuously singing, and evidence of your voice is there for anyone to see on YouTube. But you know, I mean, I don't think you got what you deserved in the Eurovision.
Well, it was a different
time.
It was a different type of song required. I mean, it needed something fast, like Tennessee Special or Arkansas or something like that. But it was a nice song. Somebody said to me one time, it's the best song never to win the Eurovision.
I just used that quote earlier. Yeah, I just did an interview with the Sunday World, and I literally said exactly what you just said.
Are you serious? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now, Steph, you're singing. You're after releasing your dad's song, When, sang for Ireland in the Eurovision. You've released it with you.
Yeah, I have. I guess releasing one of Dad's songs was always something that everyone has always told me, like, you should release one of Dad's songs.
Yeah, that's right.
And I guess
and sing a duet with your daddy.
Always.
So we'd end up doing the prayer or something there.
Would you like to sing?
Oh, no.
No.
I don't think so. We have no band. I see ducks there, but I don't see any orchestra.
I just thought maybe a cappella.
Dad just mentioned warming up. We haven't done that today.
No warming up today, Mary. But
well, anyway, what we'll do is we'll put Steph's piece of music at the bottom of the.
Put the prayer on. I think it's on the internet there, on YouTube, maybe, or
if not, you can. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steph. But Red, tell me about your journey into singing.
It's been a long journey. It's been a long journey, and I never thought it would last this long. If anyone had asked me 40 years ago, what do you think you'll be doing in 40 years' time? I would have said to them, oh God, I'll probably be retired, or I certainly won't be singing. But here we are.
And were you always happy to remain, say, are you an Irishman at heart, in the sense that a home bird? Well, do you ever regret not living abroad? Because
no, we did live abroad. You know, Stephanie's an American citizen. We were, yeah.
Yeah, I know you moved to America for a long time.
For 20 years.
Yeah, but do you ever think that if you had stayed in America, you'd be a megastar now with all the gospel choirs and everything?
Speculation is a bad thing in our business.
Yeah.
Especially if it's optimistic speculation, because it comes back to haunt you. No, the truth is, I like singing. I like singing, especially nice big concerts with a nice big band. And I've done a lot of that, and I enjoyed doing it while I was doing it, and I still enjoy doing it from time to time. And one of the things I like particularly that people seem to put to one side is I love spiritual music, and I love church music. And I like to do concerts in churches, and you know, it works very well. They're usually kind of for charity, or maybe half charity or 3/4 charity, and I like to do that. And it gives you a lift, a nice lift in your soul. You feel good about what you're doing, you know.
And you never went down the route of Irish dancing.
I could never get the 2 feet across. But
your sister is a famous Irish dancing teacher and educator, Olive Hurley.
I could take you back to when Olive was only a young girl, and she was teaching then the sixpence or a shilling or something for the kids in the area, and they'd knock on the door, and they say, "Is Miss Hurley there?" and she'd say, "Yes, I'm Miss Hurley, come on in." And she'd teach them how to dance. You did a bit of it with her, Steph, did you?
Yeah, when we were younger, my sister and I used to go, but she does live a little bit far away, so I think that got in the way of things. But we've always loved going to dance with Auntie Olive.
But you went down the singing route. Do you think it was natural that you, at what stage did your dad and mom recognize that you had a voice?
Well, my mom has a theatre school.
Okay.
And she's a dance teacher.
That's
and
right.
She basically taught you, didn't she?
And I've gone to her theatre school since I was 3. So growing up, I've always been dancing and singing and acting and doing all the things. And I don't know, I guess that's more of a question to ask you. When did you think?
Well, I remember, you should say that. I remember.
Always know your place.
No, I've been enthralled by Stephanie. The one great performance that sticks in my mind with Stephanie was when she played the part of Eponine in Les Miserables, and she just came out and she was wonderful. And in Belvedere, in the O'Reilly Hall, they had this 23-piece orchestra, and she comes out and she's singing her party piece, and then she goes to the end where she dies, basically.
I dreamed a dream.
Now she's caught up in the revolution. And she's in love with this fella who is in love with somebody else, and it's all very sad and very tragic. And he gets shot, and she's lying there, and he's singing to her, and she's singing to him, and it's like something from La Boheme. But she just blew everybody away. The tears everywhere I looked. My brother Fran was sitting beside me, and he's Stephanie's godfather.
No, he's not.
Oh, he's not.
He's
You're wrong. Same thing. No, he's Kim's. Yeah. Anyway, the long and the short of it is, I was sitting there and I could feel myself welling up. And I says, "Am I crying because this is my daughter or because of the performance she was giving?" Well, I'm not joking. I don't know where we came onto getting onto this subject, but basically, it was wonderful to see her in this beautiful big concert hall singing this wonderful piece of music. And for me, that was, I said, that's what she has to do.
But in a sense, isn't it a mixture of the two? The fact that she is, and the fact that it was such a lovely performance, because you were so taken up with the performance, you forgot probably that, one, she was your daughter, and two, you were caught up in the story.
Oh, the story is so beautiful. It's a wonderful piece.
It is a spectacular.
And so, yeah, I'd seen her on other shows, and she's done stuff with me, and particularly in churches, and the National Concert Hall in Dublin, and the Gaiety and the Olympia, and lots of stuff like that. So she's, I remember Pat Egan booked her for a week in the Gaiety, as she was to do a couple of duets, and it was great success.
Did you? Is there a particular genre, Steph, that you like more? I mean, would you like, singing with your dad in concerts or in churches and cathedrals like you do, or would you prefer musical theatre?
Well, really, I just love all genres of music, but when I write my own songs, they all kind of seem to be more kind of pop, modern kind of songs. But then when I'm in churches and cathedrals with Dad, singing the prayer and all that music, really, like you said, like it makes you feel good in your soul.
It does, it lifts you up. Yeah.
And then again, like another genre is, as Dad was saying, musical theatre. That's just because with musical theatre, I get to do all three at the same time. I get to sing, I get to dance, I get to act. And those are the three things that I just love to do, But I think for now, I'm kind of more focused on recording music and putting out more of my own kind of pop genre. So yeah, I guess just whatever comes my way. I feel like at this stage, I don't really need to choose.
No, and the fact that you have the dancing background of in some way, and that dance is in your family, do you feel that has actually, well, one, given you the ability to dance every type of dance, because once you've trained in any form of dance, it makes it easier. One, you've got that sense of rhythm, that sense of timing, the ability to learn steps that a lot of singers don't have. I mean, when they're one-dimensional in that they're maybe beautiful singers, but they can't dance a step.
I I think as well, just dancing has given me the ability to learn things quickly.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
They'll throw something at you, you need to pick it up.
Yeah.
And even that stood to me in school and with singing and I think dancing is such an important thing for a child to do while they're growing up.
Yeah,
it's
very healthy in the first place.
And obviously you're getting exercise, and it's really helped me a lot with my confidence growing up.
And it also helps with balance, and it also helps, as you said, with your schooling, because it focuses you, and it teaches you how to learn something from the beginning, stick with it. Same with voice training. The fact I couldn't convince you to sing it is a good thing, because it means that you're disciplined enough to know that this is, you know, I'm not going to sing unless I can sing 100%, and I can't do that without firstly warming up and practicing 2 hours. We should have maybe made this for 5 o'clock, and you could have had your 2 hours exercise read.
Well, Brendan Grace will never be dead while you're alive.
I met Brendan Grace.
Yeah, lovely.
I met him. He wasn't well when I met him, actually. I was at a show he did in the 2 Mile Inn, and the same night there was a bomb scare. In the 2 Mile Inn. I know, and if you saw it, it was like a scene from a comedy itself, because everybody just left calmly. We all went out into the car park.
Yeah. And
he came out and he did the concert outside.
He's a gas character, wasn't he?
It didn't even faze him. And kept everyone calm. Yeah. And he did the concert.
We Irish take to bombs very easily.
It's always just another bomb scare.
I say I love Brendan very, very much. He was a great pal of mine.
Yeah.
I sang at his wedding 40 years ago, and I sang at his funeral, and that really got me. I don't cry that easily, but
I saw the documentary in which you spoke about Brendan and about his singing at the wedding and singing what you sang at the wedding. It was just heavenly, really.
It's sad, but that was a very, very, very sad occasion because he was so really well loved, not just respected as a great comedian, which he was, but as a friend, as a person. He'd do anything for you. He was a great guy.
What was it about him that seemed to have, I think it was the fact that when he told jokes, I mean, The Father of the Bride is a classic.
Oh, hilarious.
Do you know? But when he told jokes, they were the type that everyone could go to. They were innocent jokes, family fun.
Subtle implication. If there was anything risque, it was always very subtle. Kids couldn't understand it. So it was nice. He didn't need to be black or blue.
When did you first become friends with?
Going back to the days when there was a pub in Tala, a big pub in Tala called the Embankment. And I was in the Nevada show band. And a fella said to me one night, we were off on the Monday, he says, we'll go out tomorrow night to have a look at this guy. You'll enjoy him, Red, he's great. And we went out to the Embankment. It was only a little rinky-dink pub, really, when you compare it to big ballrooms. It was no big deal. And he came on, well, he had me in stitches of laughing. And I came up to him afterwards and I was chatting to him, and we had a couple of pints. And he was looking for an agent or a manager. And I put him on to a couple of guys. And he ended up at one of them. And that was basically how I met him in the first place. But we just took it from there bit by bit. And then I ended up singing at his wedding. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it was a wise choice, because I mean, when you have a friend who sings, I mean, I was in 14 years in Bunratty Castle, and I had lots of friends who were fabulous singers. And when my parents died, my best friend Annette Stapleton, Oliver Stapleton's sister, I don't know if you know Oliver. He was drug squad detective in Limerick, and Annette, it was from Waterford, but she sang at Mum's funeral and Dad's. And it was lovely to have somebody that you knew was going to do a fabulous job.
Well, we did it. It was done with a good heart,
but his documentary was tragically sad.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it was just,
It's tragically sad. You put the nail on it there.
just a loss for the entire nation, and people who didn't know him will never really appreciate his greatness. But Steph, your dad, it's safe to say you're in safe hands with your dad around. You're not going to end up with a manager. You know, that's sweet. You're not going to end up with a manager that's going to rip you off, or you're going to end up with the greatest manager in the world because your dad.
I won't be her manager.
Touch
I won't
wood.
be her manager, I can assure you.
Huh?
I wouldn't be the greatest manager in the world.
Are you actually managing Steph?
No, I'm not. No.
No.
But I would give her the advice when it comes to music or whatever.
But you'd also be able to know and to be able to put her in contact with the right people.
Yeah, I'm really lucky in that sense, like that I have Dad. Even just when I was recording the song, Dad came out to the studio and he didn't even give too much of an input because we did say we were going to try to separate the song from his, you know, but he just sat there and he listened, and it was just so comforting to have him there. And if I ever felt a little bit like, oh, was that good? I'd look over and he'd be like, no, it's okay, it's good.
No, you did a fantastic job. You didn't need me.
Thank you.
But I was glad to be there just in case, you know.
Yeah.
But are you the type of father, this might sound strange now, but in front of Steph, but are you the type of father that no matter what Steph does, it's just going to be absolutely perfect, darling? Or are you going to be the type, well, my dad wouldn't ever criticize anything, but my mum would be very quick. She was my worst critic in everything, do you know? And sometimes you'd be saying, oh, I wish it was like you now, saying, oh, you were wonderful.
I was the other way around.
She never said it was wonderful, darling.
I was the other way around. I wanted my father to tell me I was good or great, and he never did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mother never did either. She was
to
get above yourself.
My mother was the opposite. She didn't encourage you to get above yourself, but she'd put you down pretty quickly.
Yeah.
At the same time, she would praise you if you'd done something really well.
Oh yeah.
She was always delighted when things went right for you. And I think from Steffi's point of view, let her be herself, you know, let her create her own music. She doesn't need me to tell her how to create it. She knows herself. I'm there if she needs any help, and if she doesn't need help, then I'm not there, you know. But no, Stephanie loves music, all sorts of music, and genuinely she does. And she can write really songs at the drop of a hat, and she could sing well classical music. In terms of theatre stuff, she can do it no problem. And
you're really hyping me up here.
No, I'm not. I'm just telling Mary the truth because she doesn't know you. I'm just telling her that, you know,
I just know your dad from well, you know, I mean, I'm honored to know your dad because he's famous, but I know Olive, and Olive's a lady. She's one of, you know.
Olive's a lovely person, yeah, and a very talented one.
A gentle soul, she is.
Yeah, very gentle soul, yeah.
She is, and very passionate about dancing, and and not a bit pushy.
Not a bit. She doesn't need to do that stuff at all, but she loves it, and that's why she's there.
I think, though, to answer your question, with my mom and dad, I think Dad would be more the type that's kind of like, that was good, Steph, like, even if it wasn't, but my mom would be like, ugh.
But then you see, she's your teacher. She was your stage school teacher. So there's nothing more difficult than, I would imagine. I have friends who teach their children Irish dancing and teach their children stage, and that it's a nightmare because you're trying to juggle the line between many,
separate yourself from
and parent and teacher, and you want the best for your child. I think my mother would have been a nightmare as a teacher because she would be criticizing everything and wanting the perfection in everything, which you can't.
Well, Mom and I have a rule that when we're in dancing, she doesn't see me as her daughter. I'm just one of the other girls. And then when we go home, then that's when she'll say, okay, you didn't do this, you didn't do, go practice and all this.
Yeah.
Do you find that having a mother that, you know, I mean, it's, I've often spoken to friends of mine and that, and well, one of my friends, she said it was very difficult to teach her daughter. So she had another teacher. She danced under another teacher because she felt, and then I had other friends whose parents were so wrapped up in their schools and wanting to teach their other children because they didn't have time to teach their own children because they were so engaged teaching other people's children, and they were afraid that other people's children, I suppose, or other people would think, oh, they were giving more time to their own child.
Their own kid, yeah.
Well, no, I don't. I think I like to hear like constructive criticism from my parents because I know that they always have my best interest at heart. So when I'm in dance class and she's giving time to other children, I don't mind because I know when I get home, she'll have time for me.
It definitely helps her a lot, you know, to teach younger kids.
That's great. Do you know that it's great?
Take a lot off their hands because she knows everything that our mother's trying to tell them.
Yeah.
So she said, Mom, I'll take that bunch there, you know, enough. And I've seen you doing that very, very well. And so
thank you. You're really hyping me up today, Dad.
I have to.
I hope people aren't disappointed with me.
No, they're not. No.
The money is in the post.
The check's in the post. Yeah.
The check's in the post. But Red, you know, you're a good person to ask this of in relation to Steph. Would you advise Steph against going down the route that a lot of youngsters are going down now, which would be going down the likes of X Factor, and because it's dog to dog in the world now? Or do you think
I think Stephanie, I wouldn't suggest she goes down that route at all. I think that the route she should go, because she's a good dancer, a very good dancer, because she can sing and because she can act. And what was the school you were in America?
I got accepted to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, which is an acting school.
That's not easy to get into.
Oh, it's like RADA. It's like RADA.
But then when I ended up going over, I started taking other outside classes, and I just felt like, you know what, being more independent is more for me than being in the like structure of the school, you know? So I decided that I would just take all the independent acting classes and dancing classes so I could go to whichever studio I wanted on whichever day, and I wasn't set to a timetable or anything. I wanted to be so free over there. It's
the right thing to do when you think back. Pity about the pandemic changing the dynamic because you had to.
How is it affecting you?
Terribly.
I think when I went to LA, I had always said to my mom, please just let me move to LA. Like, I want to go so bad. I want to do this and that, and I just don't want to be here anymore. Yeah. And the rule was, when you finish school, you can go to LA, and that's your rule. So I finally finished school. I was packing up, off I went to LA, and then I was there for 6 months.
But you know, Stephanie, we were talking about that last night. I had two people on. One of them works with grounding people and building up of self-confidence. The other is a teacher, but she runs a program called the Teenager to help students to study and techniques and things like that. And she was saying the very, very same thing. We were talking about the fact that students had this thing built into their heads, some of them. This is my last year. I'm going to be out on my own. I'm going to be going maybe to London or America or Australia for a year, or touring the world, and then I'm going to come back and get and do a degree. And they end up not just being at home, but being isolated away from their friends. That must have been incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I think once I got home in March last year, so it's almost 1 year now since I've came home from LA, I started to really quickly get really disheartened. And I was like, I felt like everything was going my way. I was just so happy with where my life was at that time. I'm home now. I can't even go see all my friends. I can't go up to the dance class to see all the kids. I can't do anything that are the perks of coming home, you know? But
you're saying because of the pandemic.
Because of the pandemic, I had to come home, and I started to just get really in my head upset about the whole thing. And that's when the idea came upon us, like, well, why don't you just record songs while you're here? Like, you don't have to be there. You can do things while you're here. And then that's when the whole conversation of when started.
What is
when the days of wine are gone and all the nights are long, then all my thoughts run on to you. When the lonely silence calls, when I walk through empty halls, then all my thoughts run on to you. And when they linger for a while, you come and touch me with your tender smile. And when your love was all my world, my days, my life, you were, then all the songs were songs of you. I tasted well of sweet success. Nothing touched me that was second best. Oh, but then I turned and you were gone to someone else's song. And now I'm going back to when I loved you now and then. When the story now is told and all my love unfolds, I've lost my very soul to you. Your love was right there in the sky, but at the time I've never looked so high. Darling, when will you come back to me? Release me, set me free. When, oh, when I loved you now and then.
It's great, really, that for creative people who, I suppose, can teach dance or can teach singing or can sing like you, and like you, both of you, because there's always options, especially if you have a studio at home.
Yeah.
Go into the studio and record stuff that's there, that can be put out, that people can listen to. I mean, we've been just trying to put out these shows. We were just about to start and we had applied for an FM license, and then COVID struck. So we started to do these I saw Zoom, and I thought, we could put out the shows via Zoom. Mm-hmm. So you try to find ways around the problem. Otherwise you go absolutely insane. I mean, what's it like for you, Brian?
Our business is effectively closed down. We can do shows, but there'll be nobody there because they're not allowed to be there. And it's as simple as that. We were never as busy coming up to March of last year. We had lots and lots and lots of jobs and concerts and work all over Ireland. And I was really having a ball. And all of a sudden this hit, and it's hit everybody. It's a matter of you're the greatest singer in the world or the worst singer in the world, it has hit everybody. There's just no work for anybody.
I mean, I was looking at a singer that I absolutely love, who I absolutely love, and that's Jonathan Antoine. He was he actually was second in Britain's Got Talent. Should have won it. A dog won it. Jonathan Antoine has been taken on or was examined by Pavarotti's coach, and they've said he's the next Pavarotti. He's exquisite, but he's the same now. I see him doing all these. He's recording in his studio at home. No live concerts, nothing. But I was talking to Tommy Fleming there a few months ago on my show, and you know, Tommy's usually upbeat. I interviewed him before, and he really upbeat. I never saw him so kind of that, and a kind of a quiet anger at the fact that, you know, he was at the time he was saying that I can't think of the name of that place in Dublin where all the pubs are. Temple Bar. He was saying that around Temple Bar everyone was out having a drink and that, and he said just a couple of 100 yards down the road, the concert hall where I'm normally playing in and that we play in is closed. There's no reason why it has to be closed. People could still go in and wear masks if necessary and have every second seat available.
At one stage, I got a little bit frustrated because you can go, for a little while, you could go to the cinema. And I was like, how is that any different from going to a live show? You know, people are sitting all close together in a room. No one was wearing masks. So I don't know. But
we're only allowed a quarter or a third or something of whatever the audience ordinarily would be. So if the theatre holds 1,000 people, we're only allowed like 250 or 300 people.
And that wouldn't pay you.
Well, it won't pay for the venue. It won't pay for the
and pay for the musicians. That's what Tommy was saying. The amount of people he has to hire for a concert. And then you have to pay for the venue, and then if you put stuff up, he said on YouTube, if you decided to run a YouTube concert with Red Hurley and Tommy Fleming and blah blah blah, the amount of money that's taken by YouTube and by all these
they all need a piece of the action.
There's nothing left to pay. And then, you know, he was saying to me that in 6 months' time, just assume that everything's back. Everyone is rushing to try and get the same camera people, the same sound man, because there's only a few people that work between all of them. And it could be years, he said, before he gets back to normal. Do you know, I mean, I personally don't see the rationale in it at all. Outside concerts should certainly be allowed back.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Outdoor concerts should positively be out because there's no danger there.
I mean, they could easily put, you know, if in Croke Park, they could easily put some kind of canopy or build the stage, have everything outdoor or allow people in with masks. If a mask is supposed to be protecting you, why can't they let people into concerts with masks on? You know, it's just...
Let's see what's going to happen. You know, I don't expect any miracles any day soon. Even when we thought we had the vaccine 100%, it's turning out that maybe there's a lot of little caveats with it, you know.
There's so many people. Opposed or advocating for us to reconsider, or take our time in deciding. It's all up in the air. One doesn't know what to do for the right. But to cheer us up a little bit, you got involved in helping Kevin Clancy many years ago.
Claire's Wish, yeah. Well, his sister, Claire, was a bit of a fan of mine years and years ago. And she was a lovely girl, and she had this...
cystic fibrosis, was it?
No, what they called it, bloody, I can't think of it. Oh, an awful thing. anyway, it affected. It'll come to me in a moment. It affected her badly, and eventually she passed away with it. And Kevin was left with this sad memory, you know, of his beloved sister. And he came to me about 7 or 8 years ago, and he asked me would I be interested in setting up this charity with him. And I told him I really wouldn't have the time to do the charity. I wouldn't want to get involved in administration because I'm the world's worst for anything like that. But that I'd be delighted to do an odd show for him. So I did. And as a matter of fact, we got Brendan Grace, myself and Brendan did
That's right, yeah.
Place that, what do you call that theatre in Limerick?
The concert hall.
No, the new, not
the Lime Tree.
The Lime Tree, yeah. And that worked very well. And that was the beginning of it. Then we did a thing in the Augustinian Church in...
Isn't it lovely?
Oh, it's wonderful.
You like me, Red. I love the churches. I think the atmosphere in a church.
I walked in the door of that church that first day. I thought to myself, God, it's just out of the way. It was just beautiful. It's like something you'd see in Italy.
Yeah. And the same with are you thinking of the Redemptorist?
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, the Redemptorist, magnificent.
Yeah, Redemptorist on the Augustinians in Dublin.
Yeah, but there's an Augustinian in O'Connell Street in Limerick as well. And you said out of the way, I knew it was the Redemptorist.
Yes,
because it's Mount St. Alphonsus.
Alphonsus or something. Yeah.
And it's just off and Mary Immaculate College and Laurel Hill.
The roof is...
It's uplifting when you walk into it. Well, I'll tell you a little story. Years and years ago, they were looking for gold. In the 1940s, they were looking for gold to try and put into Our Lady's tiara.
Yeah.
They were making the tiara for the statue, and my grandmother was only 40 when she died, and she told my mother that she wanted her wedding band to go towards that. So every time I look at the tiara at the Redemptorist, because they run a novena there every year, I think of my grandmother because her gold wedding band was one of the pieces that was put in. Lots of people gave their wedding band.
I heard that story before, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful church.
It's exquisite stuff. You must come down with me the next time we're doing something down there.
Definitely.
Normally I would have done it last year, but again, the pandemic.
Well, we're a city of churches. I mean, my parish is St. John's Cathedral, which is stunning, simply just breathtaking. And that now and the Redemptorist are the two places to hold any concert.
So anyway, to get back to Kevin, we met in Dublin and had a chat, and I said, yeah, I'll do it, no problem. And I ended up doing maybe 2 things a year, 3 things a year for him since. But you know, if I'm just talking to your audience now, if I could, you know, I'd love them to take a serious look at Clare's Wish and see what they can do to keep it going, because this last year has been just disaster.
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about
people
that.
Like me are no use to them because, you know, we need to be able to go and earn the money to be able to give it to them. So I can't give it if the places are closed to the public. And basically that's what the story is with that lovely church. It's sitting there doing nothing from a paying patron's point of view.
There's no rationale why people can't be back at Mass.
No.
These big Mount St. Alphonsus and St. John's Cathedral hold over 1,000 people. Yes,
they do, yeah. And any little germs or viruses would be lost in the size of them.
But it's absolutely uplifting when you go into it. But I mean, Clare's Wish Foundation was set up to try and grant wishes to terminally ill adults.
People, yeah. And, you know, it's, we have a good few of them in Dublin too. And I do stuff for the Irish Kidney Association. And they're based in Beaumont Hospital. And they put this extension on the side of Beaumont Hospital for people who can come from different parts of Ireland and stay there overnight without having any expense, because it's so expensive to get to Dublin if you're from the country, for instance.
I know. I had to go up all the time with my mother, who was in St. Anne's Cancer Hospital in
Norfolk Road.
Yeah, and Norfolk Road, yeah. And I used to have to go up on the train, and then we'd have to get 2 buses to Norfolk Road, and it was just, and when you're with somebody that's dying, it's just such a drudge.
Oh, it's terrible.
From Limerick and I have to come home, back up.
Yeah, back home. But anyway, that's where we were at with the Irish Kidney Association, and they do huge work. But they're based in Dublin, and the money can come in there, and we do a show for them every year. Last year we raised maybe 15 or 20 grand or whatever it was. So to be able to get that kind of money and hand it to the Clare's Wish or the Kidney Foundation or whatever is terrific, but it's impossible to do it without the backing of the public.
Steph is exhausted.
No, not at all.
From doing nothing around the house, wouldn't you be bored, Steph?
I know.
If you weren't creative people, imagine what it must be like for people who are having an ounce of creativity and can't think, what am I going to do?
Weren't you up till 4 or 5 this morning with people?
Yeah, I take this acting class in LA, and I'm doing it on Zoom, but with the time difference, it starts at 3 a.m. and ends at 6 a.m. So last night I was up till 6 a.m. and it's kind of embarrassing. I had to set an alarm clock this morning for like 12 or 1 to make sure.
I know, I'm a night owl too. I do apologize, Brian. I think I might, when I looked at the clock and I got a reply from Brian the other day saying, yes, that's no problem. Good night. I thought, oh my, and I looked and I thought, oh, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And his phone must have bleeped beside his bed, and I have no concept.
We're such night people, aren't we?
I think I was watching TV.
Yeah.
I love that thing, The Good Doctor. Have you seen that? You should watch that.
I have watched it a few times, and he's autistic.
He's autistic, yeah.
Isn't it a fabulous series?
And a great idea, wouldn't you? I mean, to come up with that idea that he was a genius in some respects, and here he is, autistic in the other respect. He's a
high-functioning autism, borderline. Well, he's a genius.
Visions of how it should work and all. I thought it was great.
And I mean, it's the imagery that they bring up, and they actually show you the inside of the brain, or they show you what he's thinking. Yeah. And it's
virtual imagery, and it hangs in mid-sky, and he can analyze it. You're dying. You're dying. There's nothing wrong. Imagine a doctor coming into you and you're saying, "How my doctor? You're dying." Yeah, that's terrific.
But wait, are you getting sick of watching all the television programs now? Is the novelty gone off you?
Gone off me. Yeah, it's gone off me.
How about you, Steph?
We've gotten really into walking recently.
Yeah,
we're like, yes, walks every day, get some air. I think that's the best feeling. I have a newfound love for walking. If their shop is up the road, I used to say, Daddy, will you drive me up to the shop? Now I'm like, nope, I will walk. I love the air. And it takes more time to get to the shop and back, so then it goes through the day.
Beth, I used to walk everywhere. I used to walk from my house into town rather than wait for the bus, and then I'd walk from town out to the Crescent Shopping Centre where I used to work, which would take you a good hour. And I'd do the same at night, and I'd walk home, and then the next day. Then I got a car when I was in Bunratty at the time, and I was dancing there, and I was super fit, 7 nights a week, 2 shows a night, super fit. And I used to get a car, and now it's giving me all I can do to get up the stairs and down. I mean, I think I am doing really well when I can actually go up and come down. I danced the other day inside in the kitchen, and I thought, I'm going to try and start getting fit again. And I did the right leg of the Garden of Daisies And I thought, Jesus, I got through the right leg. Now I'll have to work up to getting the left leg done. And I mean, I think that is shameful.
Well,
that I'm proud of myself after doing the right leg of the garden phases.
And do an ex-Irish dancer.
Who could do 76 shows in 9 days, 4 shows, 4 dances, 8 dances per show.
I did a thing there years ago. We did Red Hurley, My Ireland, with a TV documentary, kind of stroke entertainment. And we ended up doing some lovely things all around the county of Clare.
Yeah,
and
beautiful county.
What?
It's a beautiful county.
And anyway, we had a lovely time doing it. And we stayed down there for about a week, and we went to Bunratty and the Burren. And
the Burren, magnificent.
It's just lovely. And then down to Doolin. And there was 5 big rocks, sorry. I mean, gigantic big boulders. They weigh about 4, 5, 6 ton each.
They're megalithic tombs.
No, not the megalithic tombs. No, on the beach, these stones were.
Yeah.
They weren't stones. They were rocks. They were the size of this table. Anyway.
She can't see the table.
The Fury brothers were special guests on this show. And God, we had some laugh with those guys, I'll tell you.
Jesus, I'd say you had a laugh with the Fury brothers.
One of the big rocks, you know. And he's talking like that to me. This is great, Red Hurley. Yeah. Of course, I slag him to his face, and he slags me back, you know.
The great Red Hurley.
He's got the most distinctive voice, hasn't he?
The great Red Hurley. Well, we had some laugh, I can tell you.
And I don't think anybody will sing, no matter how great their voices are. I don't think anyone will sing The Old Man.
The Old Man. Okay. And I miss him, the old man.
I mean,
where was I? Yeah, basically I was saying you were in Bunratty Castle, and I was in Bunratty Castle, and we filmed Spancil Hill from Bunratty Castle, and the American tourists were in having their Viking food or whatever it was they were supposed to be having. But we had some good crack.
With your fingers. Eating everything with your finger. Where else would you go? Where else would it look abnormal if you used a knife and fork?
Well, it was one way of not having to clean them.
Well, do you know? I mean, we were actually waitresses. We were. When I think about it, we were actually babysitters, because if someone came in with a baby and they were at the show, you'd end up holding the baby and walking around with them while they were eating. Yeah. And so you were everything there. It was just the most wonderful.
Wonderful years. Just on the border of where Clare meets Shannon Airport.
That's right. Yeah.
And there was a pub behind it, famous pub.
Dirty Nelly's.
Dirty Nelly's.
Oh,
no, right.
I've heard of that.
Dirty Nelly's, yeah. D-U-R.
You could go in there and have a big Irish stew and a couple of pints. It was great fun.
You know who used to actually work there was Jim Bartley.
Oh, did he? I knew Jim, yeah. I didn't work there.
Jim Bartley was, because when I started in cabaret in the Limerick Inn, we were 3 years there, and it was Clem O'Sullivan who was the entertainments manager at Bunratty. He was producing the show, and he introduced us to Jim Bartley. And he said, we were children when Talca Row was out, but then I saw him in Fair City, and I thought, he was in
Bunratty, yeah.
Bunratty. But I'm conscious that I'm actually delaying you.
No, you're not delaying me now. I can tell you. I don't know about Stephanie, but
no.
Where would we be going?
Where would you be going?
Maybe to the kitchen.
Yeah.
Do you know? But I saw somebody there one day talking about I'm after buying a new outfit. I think I'll wear it to the bedroom. Or I might wear it. It might actually be better for the kitchen.
Yeah.
The day the song came out, I said to my family, I said, okay, the song is coming out on Saturday. You will not have admission to the kitchen if you do not have your makeup on, you're not dressed nicely. We were popping a bottle of Prosecco and we were celebrating.
Well, I told her that we always celebrated after we had the big hit, not before we had it.
One of these days now you'll hear, Steph, that it went to number 1.
Oh, she likes that.
Don't get my hopes up,
She likes
Mary.
How cool would it be?
Oh, sure.
I could say I knew Steph when she didn't have number one.
See, when I was recording the song, I just kept saying, I don't care if it doesn't go anywhere, you know, like I'm
yes,
just doing.
You do.
No, I'm just.
You're from a competitive family. You can't. You
No,
have. You know.
At the beginning, I was definitely like, I don't care. What will be will be. If it doesn't do anything, at least I recorded Dad's song, and it'll be nice to look back on. But then I've been.
You've got a great response. I've been so
over.
A wonderful response.
I've been so overwhelmed with how much support I've been getting on the song, and how many times I've got texts saying, "Hey, I
heard you singing with your dad on one of the YouTubes. It was the prayer. I heard you singing the prayer. You were actually in a concert, open air concert. It was the prayer, wasn't it?
I think that would have been the concert hall. No.
No. There was it was you had these on as well. I think it was on you were on. It was a tent overhead you. Market or thing. I forget what I think it was.
You sang it so many times at this stage. I don't even remember.
It was absolutely beautiful. I mean, you have a soprano voice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. It's just my voice would be soprano, but I would never have the confidence to sing. We did a Christmas CD for the School for the Deaf. And somebody said to me, how appropriate with you singing. And I mean, what an awful thing to say, but we raised €3,000 for the School for the Deaf, and it was a beautiful CD. All my neighbours got together, and some of them are, one of them, Dolores O'Connor, was, and Siobhan O'Brien, and a load of them. They were all lovely singers on it, and I sang Holy Night.
Who's the busiest choir down in Limerick now, Mary?
There's a lot of choirs in Limerick, but there's I think the Sicilian choirs would probably be, and then Greta McCormack has, Greta.
Yeah.
She has the Limerick Gospel.
I worked with them several times. Yes. They're very good.
Very good, and she does a lot of, and puts a lot of her heart and soul goes into that choir.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And then there's is it the Aliki choir, or is it? There's a choir. There's a choir out in the University of Limerick. They're all African.
Yeah.
I think it's the Aliki Gospel Choir.
I'm sure I worked with them.
You did. Yeah. You did. You sang with the Aliki Gospel Choir.
What was the thing they used to do with their feet, and they tap the floor with the feet and the hands, or was that the same choir? Have I got it wrong?
No, I had a guy on who was the choir master of the Aliki Gospel Choir when I was on radio, and he spoke about it. I never actually heard them, but I heard the choir. I heard them when they actually sang when you sang "How Great Thou Art." I'm trying to think, what choir was it that you sang "How Great Thou Art" with? They were an African choir.
Oh, in Africa, the Samaru choir.
The
Samaru choir.
Samaru choir, yeah.
They're fantastic.
Magnificent.
Consider, I rehearsed with them. We rehearsed till 10 o'clock at night, and they went home in this big coach, 40-seater. I arrived the next day. Two coaches, and arrived the next day and rehearsed all day till 7 o'clock. Then they went off and got cleaned up and made up and came on and did the concert that night. And there was probably 2,000 at the show.
Wow!
People, the size of the place, it was unbelievable.
But you singing "How Great"?
It was the greatest heart that you could. I mean, they gave it everything, and no one looked for anything or praise or nothing. They were just such a lovely, modest people.
Did you love being part of, say, for instance, the show bands?
Oh, I did, yeah.
Because one of our colleagues here, he's going to be doing the show band show. As he's done 2 of them, but he has the largest collection of show band memorabilia in the country, and he was a member of show bands himself with his brothers, and that's Tony Brown. and he would be great great friends with Ronan Collins, Ronan Collins. But Tony is a historian, but he's also obsessed with the show band era and that. And do you think there's ever going to be a revival of it? I think it could. I think it could come back.
To a certain extent, it has come back to a great extent. I mean, I did the show band tour, 30 dates, and every one of them sold out. So you'd have to say the show band thing, it has come back to a great extent. Now, not the way it was. Obviously, Brendan Byron, a few of those people are gone, Joe Dolan and all.
Joe Dolan, God, magnificent.
Yeah, but they were great. So without them, the center of it has kind of fallen out. But at the same time, there are people in their 70s and 60s and 80s, and they want to go back to some kind of memory of their youth. You know what I mean? And it was an innocent time, but it was also a great time. And it's not to be sneered at, because it was part of our culture, part of our life, and we should embrace it.
Well, I loved the Indians, and I was listening to, what's his name, on the radio the other day. I'll think of his name in a minute, but he had one of the Indians on singing. Okay. And he was and he was talking about how they did it live in London, and it was the actual piece that he sang, that they played. He had actually been doing that live. That was actually recorded live, and it's just remarkable. I never went to a show band concert because we were in the city. The show bands were usually on in the country, and in County Limerick, and we were the city, so we would, it would have been discos and things like that for us. And but I mean, when you look back on the music, it's fabulous music.
They were great times. Yeah, great times. Wonderful. I don't regret a bit of it. I enjoyed every second of it, and we I'm just raging now that we didn't do our tour this year. We had booked a tour, 30 dates, and we had it booked to start in the 1st of January, and the whole thing had to be cancelled.
And would Steph have been, obviously?
No, she wouldn't.
You wouldn't have been part of it?
Different era for Steph. With different type of music. It's not really, I wouldn't think her heart would be in it the way it would be, in her what she's doing.
Would you prefer now, Steph, to be given the choice, singing or acting? Or
for a while I always thought, I have to pick, I have to choose, but now I'm kind of in the mindset, whichever comes my way I would love to do. But I think right now I'm most focused on my music and recording songs and putting them out and hoping people like them.
What is the saying in show business? You take everything that's going.
I mean, when you look at Nicole Kidman, I mean, she's versatile, and and people like her. It's great to be versatile.
Yeah,
you take everything you can get. That's what you do, and then you analyze what's the best.
Exactly.
Down the road, how did I go with that? I think I did better with that, and
And be choosy. Don't take the first thing that comes, and always look. I would think that the best advice would probably be when you look at people that have made wise decisions in life, and when it comes to acting, and they've been fussy about what they actually do. They don't take every acting job that comes up.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite actors for many reasons is Zac Efron. But I watch a lot of his.
Who's he?
I watch a lot of his interviews all the time, and I think that was the biggest thing he said was I was very selective with the first few roles I did, and he went from High School Musical, then he did Hairspray, then he did just 17 again, all huge
he calculated
movies.
what he wanted to do.
And then from there, he felt he was getting typecasted as the handsome, singer guy, So then he branched out and did this movie called Charlie St. Cloud, where it was a really emotional role. So he could show people that he could do that too. And I think that is a thing that sticks out in my mind, like how you just said.
Well, wasn't he in the circus thing, the Greatest
Showman?
Yeah.
But that kind of came full circle for him because he had done so many movies throughout the years, including the Ted Bundy movie.
The Ted Bundy movie, I mean, that was no mean feat. But when thinking back to what you said about doing Eponine and Leah Salonga, I mean, that is just breathtaking. That, you know, and if it were me and I were you, I'd be personally, but that's just me, I would be going down the route of musical theatre.
Yeah.
If I had your voice and I had your ability to dance and ability to act, musical theatre would, well, you know, I mean, that would have been, ballet was my first love, musical theatre after that, you know.
Well, you never know.
Combine everything.
You never know what will happen, you know. I love musical theatre, and if I did end up in musical theatre, I would not be sad about it. You know, I'd be very happy.
No, that's what I said. You take what you can get, but at the same time, be selective where possible.
Exactly.
You know, but by all means.
But I think as of right now, I think writing music, releasing music, that's kind of the main focus.
Well, it's a good way of passing the time in this.
Exactly. Yeah.
You'd have to do some Zoom ones. Do you know, like there's a father and daughter in America, and they're doing. I'll send it to you. It's just beautiful. The harmony between the father and daughter. He's a baritone, and she's a soprano, and it's just the harmony between them is just.
I think it's always nice to see families singing together, especially during these times.
Yeah, it's a natural harmony.
We try to just sing together as much as we can, not putting it anywhere, but just singing around the house, just to keep ourselves.
The family that sings together stays together.
Exactly, isn't that right, Dan?
Well, on that point, Brian read Hurley and Steph, his lovely daughter, soon to be #1 in the charts here in Ireland and in the US, seen as you're a US citizen. Thank you both for being my guest today.
Thank you for having
us.
Thank you very much, Mary. It's been a pleasure.
And before we go, is Olive able to sing? Because it could be the Olive, because it could be.
Yeah.
It could be the Von Trapp family singers.
There is a lot of us though in the Hurleys.
Yeah.
Von Trapp family singers and dancers. Shindera Leshan Clor. That's the end of the show for today. Until the same time, or until the next show, Le Coon of Day. Bwalam Tugaler Chiacana, son is Agus Gra, Agus Gadeship Sloan. Sloan?
Sloan, God bless.
Bye. Thank you very much.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there's a golden sky and a sweet silver song of the lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown.